Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blazing here again. As promised, I am doing that range DPS tier list video, okay? So strap yourselves in. It might be a bumpy ride. It might catch you a few surprises. We'll find out and see, okay? So here we go. Let's jump right into it here. All right, so first off, we have all of them in E tier. They're all terrible. No, I'm just kidding, okay? So we're going to work our way right to left, all right? So first one we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with is going to be... And let me explain a little bit before we get into it, because I know there's a little bit of confusion in the last video, people skipping to the end and kind of not understanding why we put things in certain places. The way this video is going to be formatted, and probably future ones, is I'm going to separate into two parts. The first half of the video is going to be for race to roll first, and what I speculate Echo, Limit, and top end guilds, Pop Tart, Corn Dogs, guilds like that will play. All right, and also those top 100 guilds. At the end, you can go ahead and check at the bottom. You're going to go see little chapters. If you are looking for kind of that info, go ahead and stay and watch the first half of the video, and then you can go ahead and leave and exit out. If you are not kind of interested in that kind of stuff, you kind of want to see what's more leaned towards the AOTC, or maybe you're just more AOTC player, you kind of want to see what's kind of easier to play in raid, go ahead and fast forward to near the end of the video, the middle half of it, and that's where I'm going to be swapping over and talking about AOTC and what kind of classes, what kind of range DPS classes you're going to see in AOTC guilds and which ones will excel in those guilds. And we'll just get you, maybe the cutting edge at the end of the tier, or you're just raiding, two nights a week for 3 hours, or maybe in 2 hours. You're a little bit more casual, okay? So then you can go ahead and fast forward to the end of the video, all right? But the first half of the video, it is going to be talking about race to roll first, and kind of speculation, kind of what I'm going to be kind of seeing during that race, okay? So here, let's start right into it. Obviously, right off the bat, we're going to be seeing Boomkin right off the bat. Every single top end guild is going to be running him. You're going to possibly see 2 to 3 of these up there. Why? Because of the new Kyrian buff, right? My guildies did some testing with this. We played around Knife Fade, we played around Venthyr, and generally the easier playstyle of the Kyrian and getting that buff out, especially buffing a Fire Mage or another class, it is just giving, if you count in their increased damage from the 18%, the 16% stat increase they're getting onto your damage, you're giving your raid in general a huge DPS increase, as well as your rotation compared to Venthyr and from Sanctum Domination becomes so much easier in 9.2 because you just click a buff and you blast, all right? You don't have to worry about stunning yourself, all right? And we all know that was an issue. If you watched the race to roll first, you know that was a big issue, because if you look back at the beginning of Sanctum Domination, Echo actually stayed as Knife Fade Boomy, and they got a kind of upper hand because their druids weren't trying to learn Venthyr during Prague. Okay, we saw that take place during the KT fight. For those who followed the race to roll first, we saw that matter when it comes to learning class in those tight 1 week windows when you're trying to win. Okay, so you're definitely going to see Kyrian and Boomkin come up here. All right, next we're going to jump right into Shadow Priest. All right, Shadow Priest can go ahead and go right up here into S tier. The reason for this is the utility they bring the massive spells, they bring the grips, as well as they bring a fantastic single target ability, as well as AoE cleave. They are looking incredible. And just with the double legendary and their current tier sets, they are looking phenomenal. And just their DPS and the ability to just pump on bosses. And especially if you're looking at Zaval, we might be seeing execute phase on him, because in the achievements it actually says that it is looking like he's going to die. It doesn't say, Feigned Bane. It actually says Slayer. So that's kind of leading to our fact that we will be killing the Jeller and the Spectre, the first ones, which leads to the fact that I don't think the boss is going to die at 10%. He's probably going to die at 0%. So you're going to see that kind of Shadow Priest blasting execute phase come into play. Okay, so that's going to be a pretty big deal. Next, we have Demonology Warlock. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop these in A tier. This is definitely a class that you could see jump all the way up to S tier if the race to roll first is using a Blood Decay with Vampiric Aura or Rallies. So if you're giving this player, it's coming into a big single target phase or multi-target, you could give him Vampiric Aura, give him Rally, and then give him PI. And you could even see this go all the way up to here even. just between those combinations of all those 3 abilities. Now, I don't know if the Racer World First is going to be using that, if they're going to be running a Blood DK with that legendary. It is, like I said, anything's a possibility at the top, at the very, very top, okay? We might see this played. I don't really know, but that's why I'm going to keep him down to A tier, because he is a very, this Warlock is still a very, very good choice, a good spec. You might see him played in the Racer World First. And obviously, like every single raid tier out there, Warlocks are mandatory, all right? Destruction Lock, I'm going to go ahead and bring him over to B tier, okay? The reason for the little B tier here is because it does play a little bit lower than Demonology, and it does have little niches with its AoE capability. It does have, like, obviously all Warlocks have great capabilities, they all have great utility, but just between the 3 specs, it is a little bit on the lower side. It's still great to play, but I just don't think you're going to see it in the Racer World First. I just don't think you'll see it. You're not going to see a THD playing Destro unless it's like one fight. Majority of the raid, he's going to be playing Demo or Affliction. Affliction, or let's jump right into Affliction here. All right, so Affliction. This one, I will tell you, is kind of like, it's like a hidden means. I don't really know if like THD and Kalmazi and the other Warlocks are kind of keeping it hidden. But from what I'm kind of seeing, it's kind of the testing my kind of guildies have done, and kind of what it's looking like on Zaval, this could be S tier very easily with the double Lego and with Kyrian buff onto the double Lego with the Soul Shard ability, the one where you Drain Soul, Drain Soul ability. The execute capability of Drain Soul is looking insane. Like, I mean, you pop this dude Kyrian PI, plus we're on execute phases of Volo Drain Soul while he's trying to slow our casting speed. This guy could rate the #1 damage on phase 3 very easily with the combination of those legendaries. So that's why I'm leaning this class into S tier, because it has a lot of dots, a lot of AoE capability, and it does have that incredible Drain Soul, especially when it comes to the final bosses. You could see, even possibly you could see Limit or Echo possibly running 2 Affliction locks to beat that final DPS phase for Zaval. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and jump into Elemental Shaman. Obviously, they have the niches, they have great survivability, great utility. In the Race to World First, historically, we haven't really seen Elemental Shaman really played at all, but there is a possibility we could see them due to their double Lego capability and Vinther Elemental Shaman. In case you don't know, right? There's kind of this weird thing going on where you can almost get 95% uptime on Vinther Chain Harvest. 95 to like 91%. And then if you buff it with Kyrian and you get the Vinther crit increase, you could even lower it even more. So it's very, very interesting, very niche kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if people kind of abuse kind of the Boomy with the Ele and they do the chain harvest. I mean, it could even climb all the way up to A tier. I just have to see kind of how the Vinther Elemental kind of works out. But it is something to keep your eye out for those, you know, Elemental Shaman mains out there. Keep your eye out for that kind of niche gameplay, because we could be seeing it in the Race Over First, or even maybe Pop Tarn Core Dogs are kind of some of those top 100 guilds. You could see an Elemental Shaman if they're running that Chain Harvest. All right. But for right now, I am going to keep it C tier, because it is kind of, I mean, it could even go up here. It's kind of variable depending on how that ability plays into raid. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and go right into mages. So we're going to go ahead and go to Arcane Mage. We're going to go ahead and drop him in C tier. The reason for that is just the buffs to Fire and Frost Mage. Obviously, out of the 3 specs, Arcane Mage has taken kind of a tone down a little bit from what it was in Same to Domination. Obviously, with losing its shards, it just doesn't feel as strong as the other ones, but obviously it could still be B tier, but it's more leaning on the C tier side because of the strength of Frost Mage and Fire Mage. So let's go ahead and swap over to Frost Mage here. Frost Mage with Artificer, Pantheon Archetype, Guardian the first boss, even going all the way into Mal'Ganis, Zaval, multi-target ad fights. Frost Mage is looking incredible. Plus on top of that, they bring Cold Snap, the ability to be able to soak twice. If you guys look at the Dungeon Journal for Zaval, there's going to be a lot of soaking mechanics to where you have to soak a missile going to Azeroth. You're going to have to soak a ground slam into the tanks, kind of like Guardian. So that double Cold Snap, you could see a play. Maybe Scribe will use it in a unique way where, you know, maybe they're running double Frost Mage to get the Cold Snaps to where they don't have to do that many mechanics to get more DPS from their Boomies or other classes that may have to go and soak that mechanic. So they could be something to keep your eyes out for during the race to road first, okay? Don't sleep on Frost Mage, alright? Don't sleep on them. Very useful. Next, we're going to head into Fire Mage, okay? This one's going to instantly jump into S tier, the very best ranged DPS class in the game by far. We saw this during Castle Nathria. The ability to just pop combust every single minute on a raid encounter was huge. It was the turning tide in a lot of the fights and a lot of the raid encounters that Lemon Echo went up against. It was literally just smashing. And if you guys had kept up on a few of the streams lately, He played it during PTR testing for Archetype on one of the fights. He played Fire Mage. When the ads had spawned out, he had popped combust on the little workshop minion dudes, deleted all of them within seconds with the double Lego from Night and running Night Fae as well. Is just looking insane. And then on top of that, if you count in the Vinther Boomkin giving the buff to the Fire Mage, and you're giving him 16% haste every minute. So essentially every single minute you're combusting, you're getting a 16% haste buff. That's almost a lust every single minute. Now imagine that capability into a class, into a spec that can now choose to Flame Strike or Pyroblast, AoE or single target into a minute cooldown. It is just, I mean, it has to get nerfed. I mean, or if not, it's gonna be a Fire Mage meta once again in the raid. It's just gonna be Fire Mage meta. It's going to go back to 9.0. Fire Mage everywhere. Fire Mage Boomkin blasting everything down. Smithereens. And plus Fire Mage meta. I mean, if it doesn't get changed, it's just right now with the capability of giving the Kyrian buff with the Fire Mage, it's just looking phenomenal, especially on every minute. And I know raid leaders, especially Limit, especially Max and Scribe, they love working around 1 minute cooldowns. They love it. It's easier and it's insane to blast ads. And a lot of the 9.2 spec are the first ones. A lot of the encounters have ads. All right. So there's that. All right. So next we're going to get into Hunters. Obviously, guys, keep in mind this. We are still talking about the race to road first tier. Obviously, because you are going into the raid tier with hardly any gear at all, you're super low geared. And a lot of times, because of Mel, we saw this with Roger Brown, a lot of times you don't get funneled, right? Because in the race road first, it's about funnel. It's about funneling, and it's about doing those multiple runs where you're funneling your main character gear, and you're doing funnels. You're doing split runs. Let me rephrase it. You are doing splits. And a lot of times in Echo and Limit, they don't have a lot of Mel splits. They just don't. It was so bad in Sanctum of Domination, they didn't even run a Mel split. That's how bad it was. They didn't even run a Mel split. So literally, Roger Brown was literally the only hunter in the entire raid. And maybe I'm wrong, but I have to go back and look at Limit's videos. I don't think they ran a hunter at all. So that, for me, for the top 100, that is going to leave them in possibly E tier. However, I will move Beastmaster up. The reason why? Because of one player alone. Roger Brown, baby. He loves Beastmaster. And in case you guys don't know, Beastmaster ended up becoming just insane on Paintsmith and fights like that. Okay? And if you looked at Zaval, the final phase of Zaval, there's a hard anti-lust phase where every single second or maybe every 30 seconds, I'm not too sure, in the Dungeon Journal I have to look, but it will slow your casting speed and your attack speed. So having that ability, that instant kill command, could instantly raise them all the way up to S tier on a encounter like Zaval, where it's a hard anti-lust phase. And you just need abilities that are instant cast, like Kill Command. But for right now, I'm going to keep them D tier and possibly even E tier, okay? So, but for right now, they are going to be D tier just because of Roger Brown, right? So there that is. That is the conclusion, guys, of the Race to World First kind of speculation, kind of what I think both guilds will be running. It's going to be really exciting. Hopefully you guys watch it. I'm really excited for it. It's my favorite time of year. Every single year is my favorite thing to watch out of the entire year. All right, so that's the conclusion of the top 100 Race to World First. Okay, guys, so there that is. All right, so let me reset it real quick, and now we're going to go jump into probably what majority of the player base is and probably what it's going to be looking like. Okay, this is more for those individuals that are, you know, top 300 or below. You're AOTC, you're more of a casual raider, or you're trying to find a tier list that's more, hey, what can I play in 9.2 in the raid where I'm going to get a raid spot, or hey, what's kind of easier to play in speculative the first ones from the encounters that you have tested with your guild, kind of who's doing the most damage, you know, out there, right? This kind of answers you kind of be wanting to look for, right? So this back half of the video is for you guys. All right, so here we go. We're going to start right into Shadow Priests. Shadow Priests are going to go right immediately into S tier. The reason for this is it does have a generally easier rotation, and it does bring Mass Dispel. And a lot of raid leaders in general, they love having that Mass Grip for tanks. Like on SOG, it was shown on SOG right before the tank got stunned in the SOG ability. You can life grip him out. And you could essentially have your tank solo soak a ability to get rid of the heart rends. He could solo soak it, and your raid didn't have to if you had, you know, a priest in there. And a lot of times having a Shadow Priest to Mass Dispel saves mana from your Holy Priest and Disc Priest. So generally, Shadow Priest is a really good way to go for 9.2 if you're looking to get a pretty good raid tier spot, especially with the way they're looking with the tier stuff. They're looking very good, okay? So I highly advise you kind of look at playing Shadow Priest, or if you are maybe a Holy Priest or Disc Priest, try out Shadow Priest. It might interest you, right? All right, Boomkin. Boomkin, with them going over to Kyrian for 9.2 speculative first ones, I know there's a lot of, you know, AOTC guilds or players who weren't used to the Vinthier ramp at the beginning of the tier, or even now they're still not used to it and they refuse to kind of learn it. They still play Knife A. With them kind of leaning over going into Knife A / Kyrian again, it's looking incredibly strong, especially if you're a newer player who's just now playing Boomkin. You get to play Kyrian, and it's pretty easy. It's every minute you just click a button, you can do your general, general ramp. You don't have to worry about getting stunned. You bring Dispel Curses, maybe there's curses this raid. You also bring Stampede Roar, Vortex, Typhoon. You also bring B-Res. So if you're looking for a guaranteed raid spot, definitely play Boomkin. You will get a guaranteed raid spot. Very easy to find a guild recruiting for a Boomkin out there, okay, guys? It's very easy. Affliction Lock, all right? Here, we'll just go, we'll go into the locks here real quick. We'll do these three right off the bat. Affliction Lock, like I said, it's definitely going to be S tier. Like I said, this is for those AOTC players or players, like I said, you know, below 500, even 300 below, right? Or even 200. If you are looking for a raid spot, there it is. You cannot go wrong with any one of these specs. Why? Even if you play Destruction, right? I know it's a little bit down here. It's maybe down here. Whatever anyone says, any YouTuber says, or even Twitch streamer. Listen, if you play a Warlock, I guarantee you can be up here. And you can fool your raid leader no matter what happens. Why? Because you bring health cookies. And let me tell you something. So far, out of current testing on Artificer Zymox, there is no way to do that fight. Do not blame me. Okay, don't go in the comments and blame me here. It is not possible to kill Artificer Zymox without a Warlock. Don't get mad at me. Blame the devs and get them to change it. But as of right now, with the current Mythic PTR testing, it is unkillable. It is looking just like Mythic Sire, where it's just unkillable without you being able to get your melee to gate over there, right? Or if the range need help killing an ad, you have to gate over there, right? So, as of right now, it is impossible to kill that boss without a Warlock. And then, obviously, on Skolex, being able to Warlock gate to a location to bait out the tunnel, Warlock is looking S tier by far. If you're AOTC or you're looking to get into a cutting edge guild, play Warlock. You're a guaranteed raid spot. Even if you're kind of bad at the class, you're kind of mediocre, you can kind of fool your raid leader and kind of still pump, and they won't kind of question you because Warlocks sometimes are hard to find, and you can kind of keep that raid spot for a while, all right, without having to worry about you getting removed. Or you can say, hey, hey, raid leader, that last boss pull I just did, I was doing demonic circles, or I was setting up the Warlock gate. My damage is kind of down that pull. Sorry about that, but I'm doing the dirty work for the guild here. Do what you have to do to stay in the raid. But hey, it is what it is. These three are S tier for that. Okay, Fire Mage. We're gonna talk about Fire Mage here. I know for the Race to Road first, I did put it very high up in S tier. But now, if you're not playing with those kind of caliber of players, I will say this was a good. I'm gonna give a really good example right now for those doubting me. A good example was Council of Blood in Castle Nathria. This class became D tier. You know why? Because this dude, every time he combusted, this was him. Jump, jump, jump. Your entire raid team died. Because he said jump, jump, jump every time with debuff. Luckily this tier, it doesn't look like there is any jumping debuffs. But still, having a class where you have to jump and do some crazy stuff to spacebar to make sure you don't hardcast any pyro, that takes some skill level. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put it in C tier for those going through AOTC and stuff like that, okay? I highly stay away. It's kind of C tier because of the complexity of it for those players, all right? Frost Mage. Frost Mage, I'll definitely put up in A tier. The reason for that is you have great AoE cleave. You have the ability, like I said, you can soak twice, like I said, for the Race to Road first guys. So your raid leader can put you on a lot more mechanics to soak on, and you can kind of carry a dead weight. Let's say you have a player that, he just doesn't soak. He doesn't move. He doesn't hear the call out. He's eating Cheetos in his hand, and he's just leaning back, DPSing. He's not paying attention to the raid leader's call out. You can be that clutch player and soak the mechanics that others don't. You can blink in, soak, cold snap, blink in, soak, night fade, blink in, soak. And the next thing you know, you're the best DPS and you're the best DPS in the entire raid team because you're doing mechanics that no one else can. All right? So this is definitely going to be A tier because of that cold snap and the ability to do mechanics that others can't, and especially if you count in alter time. Arcane Mage is going to go right up there in B tier. It's a little bit easier rotation than Fire Mage, and obviously people used to it and saying the domination isn't changing very much, so it's a very, it's very nice to play. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. You get a shoe Arcane Blast, and it's decent. And these classes are required to bring in a raid because you do need the intellect buff. You guys are going to argue in the comments, oh, you don't need that, my guild killer without it. But generally, a raid leader is going to be recruiting for a mage, regardless. So if you want to get into a guaranteed raid spot, go ahead and look at re-rolling to mage or playing mage, all right? Historically, they're always needed. Elemental Shaman. Like I said, with the Chain Harvest, all the kind of stuff going on, we kind of don't know about this class yet, but he does bring Wind Rush. And always having the extra Wind Rush is good. Having Astral Shift. Having Ghost Wolf puts him at B tier because of the capability to have all those things. Also, if you look at maybe even Eye of the Jailer, having that capability to drop your Earth Elemental to tank an ad or tank something in case your tank dies, that is a very good possibility, and it does raise them a little bit above Fire Mage in that utility standpoint of being able to clutch a dire situation, all right, for those AOTC Raiders. So there's that. Right, now let's get into the last two, all right? Beastmaster, best class in the game, best spec in the game for those looking to get into cutting edge raiding and who want to play something that's a lot more easier to play than the rest of the classes that have easy rotation, and you're out DPSing people and you can do mechanics, you can soak things, and you can just generally do things other people can't and still maintain really high DPS throughput while handling mechanics. And if you're a jumping person, you're always spamming your spacebar and you're moving around jiggling, this is a great class for you, okay? It's fantastic for you, all right? So I'm going to put this in S tier because of that reason, the easeability of it. Even a person who just gets into World of Warcraft 4.9.2, if you just resubbed, you haven't played Shadowlands at all, you can literally hop onto Beastmaster, go onto Waco.io, look up a rotation helper for your barb shots, and you're set. You click kill command every time it comes up. Plus, on top of that, you bring Lust in some weird situation that you don't have a mage or a shaman. I don't know, but I mean, you do bring Lust if that's the case for your guild. All right. For marksmanship hunters, I am going to put them over here in a little bit in A tier. The reason for that is they do bring that nice AoE cleave, and a lot of times in the lower end guilds, AOTC guilds, a lot of times you are getting a lot better gear, and you don't have to deal with kind of the issues with, you know, going into prog really undergeared, because you are doing a lot of those M+, you are kind of gearing yourself before you step into mythic. So a lot of times we have noticed from what minus what the doomsayers have said about saying the domination, we did end up finding hunters are relatively pretty decent. They're pretty around A tier to B tier in damage, marksman, and beastmaster on fights. So there it is, guys. This is the end of the for AOTC Raiders and people out there who are kind of just looking for a main raid spot. These are the kind of, you know, range DPS you want to play, all right? If you want a guaranteed raid spot, if you're looking for something a little bit more on the difficult side, you kind of want to be, you know, you really want to be top of the damage meters, you want to kind of challenge yourself to learn something, then go ahead and play Fire Mage. You could easily earn yourself S tier. Like I said, for AOTC players, like I say, you're not the best in the world. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You could really play any ranged DPS in the game and be perfectly fine, okay? There's nothing that's down here. Nothing. You can play any ranged DPS and be perfectly fine. Your raid leader will be happy to have you in the raid, all right? Play your best. Use your defenses wisely. Make sure to use your health stones in your healing pots, and I'm sure your raid leader will not bench you. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please leave likes and the comments down below. I look forward to reading them. The next video you can look forward to is the melee DPS video. So I'll catch you guys next time, all right? Peace out. Take care. Deuces.